Hello and welcome to another Tide Guy video. Today's video we're going to talk about conference realignment. I know that's a hot topic for a lot of people out there, so we're going to answer a few questions and I'm going to ask a few questions. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. It hits the algorithm that allows my video to be requested more, and also if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. As I said, today's video is going to be a little bit on conference realignment. I know there's a lot of talk. I know a lot of YouTubers are doing videos right now on conference realignment, but if you read Warren, from the commissioner for the Big Ten, pretty much come out and said the other day that conference realignment is now on the back burner. The Big Ten wants to focus on USC and UCLA getting into the Big Ten, making the transition smooth. Also, they want to get into the expanded playoffs. They want to see how that's working before they bring in more teams. I know a lot of talk out there says, oh no, Washington and Oregon, they're coming to the Big Ten. No, they're not. The Big Ten looked into it. Financially, it just does not make sense for them. If they bring in Oregon, they bring in Washington, each team would lose a little bit of money because Washington and Oregon does not bring in enough to sustain themselves. So that means it would lower. Right now, the Big Ten, when it first starts off, is looking at making $70 million a team. So you bring in Washington, you bring in Oregon, and I know other people said, well, they'll bring in Cal and Stanford too. Unfortunately, that $70 million is going to drop. Many athletic directors, even presidents, have come out and said, you know, you can look at Ohio State, you can look at Iowa. They're not adding teams to lose money. If they're going to add a team, it's going to be to make money. It's not going to be to lose money. I don't look at the Big Ten doing anything until the contract is up, their new contract is up. I'm agreeing with a lot of the other people who are out there talking, the professionals. When the Big Ten does decide to expand, you're going to look at teams like Miami, Florida State. That's a market that the Big Ten wants. Miami is a huge market. Plus, they don't have teams in Florida right now. Not only is it a huge market, good money draw, but also it's going to help the current teams they have in recruiting. So look for them to wait until their contract is up. That way they can go into the ACC and grab a few teams. And I do see that as the next step for the Big Ten. Because you got to keep in mind, the Big Ten, I know some people out there are saying, well, you know, the Big Ten, it's just a myth that they're only going to take AAU schools. And, you know, well, the commissioner said, you know, that's not the only factor. But the problem is that's the commissioner, and you're not listening to the president. The Big Ten cares a lot more about AAU money, the prestige of academics, than they do the chump change. And yes, I said chump change. The TV contract pays for sports. $70 million to these AAU schools with their research funds that sometimes reach into the billions, and that's with a B. $70 million for sports doesn't move the needle to the presidents. And so when you want the presidents on board, they don't want to short the prestige academics of the Big Ten. They want to make sure that the colleges they bring in, the schools they bring in, are AAU, are going to help them with their research sharing and stuff like that. That's why I think you give Miami a couple more years and they will for sure have AAU. I know Florida State's working on it. The other big schools you would look at for the Big Ten would be North Carolina, which I would kind of personally hate. I would like to see North Carolina go to the SEC for selfish reasons, but North Carolina would definitely be a grab for the Big Ten. I also think Virginia would be another nice draw for the Big Ten. I know some people think Duke, you know, and even Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech has the academic to get into the Big Tens. I do think for Oregon and Washington, unfortunately, they're going to have to find a way to move the needle more in order for the Big Ten to take them. We will see. Maybe, you know, maybe they focus on that now. Maybe the draw does get closer. As far as the SEC is concerned, the SEC, they're also in a standstill right now. They're not going to add any teams right this second because there's no need to add teams. With the Big Ten now kind of frozen, the SEC is kind of frozen because the teams the SEC want are also in the ACC, also have the grant of rights holding them back. We can't add them. Now, I know it's out there. What about West Virginia? What about Oklahoma State coming to the SEC? Those would both be good schools. The problem is now you're going from 16 to 18. Financially, at this time, it's not feasible to add those two. Those two are not going to sign a grant of rights that'll give up their grant of rights for as many years as the ACC did. So they're not going anywhere. So we can keep, the SEC can keep them in the Big 12 for now, and they do want them down the road in 6 or 7 years. They will come at that time. So I think, although it was a lot of fun talking about conference realignment, unfortunately that's going to be dead for a little while. And I think in the next 3 or 4 months, you're going to see the Pac-12 sign their grant of rights again. They'll probably sign them for, I would say, 6 or 7 years, probably let it up in 2029, maybe 2030. They can get their TV contract. I personally don't think their TV contract is going to be that much lower than what the Big 12 is. The Big 12 has already found out that most people are saying at the most they're going to get maybe 10% more than what the Pac-12 is. I mean, when you think about it, everybody said the Pac-12 is dead, but if they can make within 10% of what the Big 12 makes, that's not bad. And it's more feasible for them to stay together. Yorkman, he made the comment even the other day that, the Big 12, for them to expand, it's got to make sense money-wise. And when he stated that, everybody says, well, the corner schools, they're going to go to the Big 12. Well, that don't move the needle for the Big 12. So I don't see them moving to the Big 12. Leave in the comments what you think I did wrong. Tell me when you think conference realignment will come up again. Tell me what teams you think the Big 10 should go after. What teams you think the SEC should go after. As always, everybody, have a great day and roll Tide.